Peaches from PMJ. I'm here with my first video to kind of lay the foundation of this personal journey that I'm going on. I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of background about myself, as far as lay the foundation of how everything started for me. So from a young age, at the age of 12, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And even before then, I always felt and kind of knew that I was amongst the bigger kids in my classes, not by age, but just by size. I've always seen that difference. Now, mind you, looking at my family line, nobody is thinner than a Snicker, really, but still, I noticed it. But when I was 12, my mom kind of got suspicious about a dark circle around my neck that she had read in an Ebony magazine was consistent with possible having diabetes. So she took me to the doctors to have me checked out. It turns out I had diabetes. So I was officially diagnosed, began getting treatment for that. And I just remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I have to stick myself every day. Like, I don't want this. And the doctors try to tell me, oh, if you lose weight, maybe you can get rid of it. You never know. And I'm just like, I'm a 12-year-old worrying about losing weight. What 12-year-old do you really know walks around and is worried about losing weight? Now, maybe not uncommon for this day and time because of all the media images and celebrities that they're seeing getting all this body work and stuff done. But for me at that time, this was just like, it felt unheard of. So I was a 12-year-old taking diabetic medication, trying to manage my weight, but steadily getting bigger as I grew older. Now, I never felt like I was this ugly, couldn't love my body, big girl or anything. But you notice the difference when you're in the room with your friends and they're complaining about being fat and you're looking at them like, girl, do you even know what fat is? Like, do you have all this? Like, stop. So I remember many a times being like that with my friends, like, you're not fat. Like, come on, stop. So I just went through my years and, I just loved myself, and I encouraged other people then. Like, I never really let the fact that I was a bigger girl get down on me as I was going through my grades. Like, I didn't have an issue with, getting dates or, finding someone or anything like that. I do kind of have a funny story though. So there was a guy that I was talking to that he had made a statement about not liking big girls. And at that time, I was just like, what? Like, what's wrong with, bigger women? Like, what is your problem? And it was some nonsense. And of course, we're young. We're like 15, 16, I think it was. We were young. But I was just like, what is your problem? And mind you, I started talking to this guy through like a friend. So like, it wasn't like he really knew me or knew what I looked like or anything. But for whatever reason, he felt he needed to make the comment that he did not like bigger, girls. So I wanted to challenge that notion. I was like, but you don't even know what you don't like about them. Like, are you just talking about a physical thing? Like, I couldn't get beyond the fact that, it just seemed like a shallow physical type of, dismissal. So I, made up a thing where, I was a smaller girl. And somehow I convinced him that I was, and he went on to talk to me. We talked. I think you would call it, now it would have been a catfish, but at the same time, like then when I was doing this, I wasn't thinking about it as a catfish. I was just like, I want to challenge the notion that you don't like me because of the size of me, but you don't know the personality of me. I bet if you would learn my personality, you would love me. So that's what ended up happening. But it was still wrong, and I admit it was wrong. But at the same time, like, when he eventually found out, he was like, why did you lie? What did you trick me for? And I was just like, you said you couldn't like a bigger woman. I indeed am a bigger woman, but you was head over heels in love with me. And it wasn't like you was getting a whole bunch of pictures, whatever. We're like 15, 16 years old. Like, that stuff back when I was younger really wasn't like a thing where you could just send pictures all willy-nilly. Like, that's when cell phones was really just getting big or whatever. So that was one of my lowest moments right there. And I say it was a low moment on the fact of, like, I felt I had to prove a point to someone instead of just being like, you know what, you're lost, whatever. And, I could have went about it a whole, different way. But, for me, and it still was a learning experience about loving myself, because I was like, I could say what all was great about me. I shouldn't have to convince you that all this stuff is great about me, besides the physical. And it was also another thought process of, people are just going to like what they like. If you don't like a big girl, you don't like a big girl. That's fine. I'm just not the one for you. And I think at that age, and of course, you're still in this learning stage, that I wasn't really in that mind space, that a more adult thinking of like, it is what it is. So that was my only real like moment when I was young, that I was just like, I really struggled with someone like having an issue with the person that I was. And from that moment on, I was no longer apologetic for who I was. But if you didn't like me for me, then that's on you. Whoever's going to like me for me is going to like me, and we're going to be just fine. And that's how I kind of just built this confidence that I always walked around with, and, attracted my friends, the boyfriends that I had, eventually, I go on to get married. I didn't need to be someone that I wasn't physically. And I just hope that someone hearing my story can prevent them from having to go down through that same road, could prevent them from feeling like they're less than because they don't look like, this or that person who is more in the typical image of what, you're told you need to look like, because that's not true. You can be you and still be beautiful. If that person is meant to be in your life, they're going to love you for you. And that's all that needs to be said or done. You kind of have to live unapologetic. If you're happy and you love yourself, be happy and love yourself. You don't need the approval. You don't need the understanding of anyone else. And I think that's the real point that I wanted to get across in this video today, is that, love yourself and let everything else fall by the wayside. Now, I know that's a hard concept, because that's something you really have to learn for those who struggle with it. But the sooner you learn it, the easier life is going to be. And I think that's a big lesson for, my younger crowd. Being, bigger, being loved, and being accepted is something more of today. But us ladies have come a long way. Look at Monique. Monique busted into the entertainment scene being her big, beautiful self. But if you notice, she felt like she had to always tell you, I'm a thick madam, I'm fat. She always had to make these comments because she had to make you believe that she was all those things, when she should have never had to do that. It should have just been, I am who I am and I love me. And you accept me, I don't have to convince you of anything. And I feel like for the longest time, she tried to convince people. And it was when she stopped trying to convince people and just authentically being herself, that she really came into her own. That's what I truly feel. So I don't know, you guys. Again, this is just my first intro video, some of the thoughts that I was having. Leave me some comments below. I'm welcoming all positive, loving comments, and if you don't have anything nice to say, then keep it to yourself, or you will be blocked. Thank you. I'll talk to you guys later. And remember, if no one tells you that they love you and you don't feel that you love or loved, know that I love you.